Hello friends, and welcome to Figure Study, where I am making things difficult for myself once again by covering an enormous Korean transforming robot toy. Seriously, these things, I love them, but they are such a pain to film. Anyway, today we're taking a look at Hello Carbot Pentastorm, which is a set that I wanted to get my hands on more or less back around the time that I started getting into Tobots, but was a little put off by the price, and then it went out of stock everywhere and didn't get reissued, and the price went up to just ridiculous amounts. But it did get reissued eventually, so I got my hands on the reissue, and there are some minor differences from what I've seen. Going by KR Brickbot's video, which I'll link to up there, where he does a comparison of the original release and the reissue, but yeah, I have the reissue, so there is that. Anyway, let's get right to it. So yes, all of these cars are massive. And when I say massive, as is usually the case with these kinds of toys, I mean mahusive. Because as you can see, even the smallest car is significantly larger than a standard size deluxe. These things are very, very large. Granted, in the pantheon of large Korean transforming robot toys, they are actually a fair bit smaller than a Tobot, in this case Tobot Adventure Z, but they're still pretty darn big. And bringing in a Hello Carbot figure, you can see that they're more in line with that. At least the central truck guy is. Incidentally, this is the only instance where I actually have the original vehicle and the combiner vehicle. So here we've got SWAT, the standalone toy, and the basically accessory. Definitely a size difference. So there is that. I suppose I can slide these out of the way a bit so I can turn this so you can see that, yeah, there's a bit more of a direct comparison between these two, and that tracks a little bit better. But again, it's because, this version of SWAT has an individual robot mode, whereas the tinier one does not. Alright, let me readjust, bring the rest of these back in, so we can do one more comparison with the duck tank. Okay, size comparisons are done, so where to begin? Guess we'll start with the main event. This guy, I believe the name for this thing is Storm, I think, and it looks like a garbage truck. I don't know what the actual truck is. I'm sure someone will correct me, probably Brickbot, but it's a truck of some kind, and it looks pretty good. I know in the reissue or in the original there was some Tampograph deco here for a logo or something like that. It's not here anymore, and I'm fine with that, to be honest. Also, instead of the car manufacturer logo, it's got the Carbot logo, but that also works for me. I kind of appreciate the simplicity of the overall deco on this thing, because, it's blue with just silver, or in this case chromed rims, and black tires, and black windows, and the chrome grille. It's there's very, very little going on here in terms of paint for this mode, but that's fine. Yeah, I could maybe use a little bit for the taillights. No, the headlights, they're at least separated out, so that's fine. And I like that they painted a little bit of blue on the side mirrors there, though the mirrors themselves could probably use a little silver, but small things. Yeah, it's just a big blue brick, but it's a nice blue. It's a nice deep blue. The black, while it is close in tone, there's enough of it that it doesn't really get lost, which I appreciate, and the chrome pops really nicely on it. It's just a sturdy brick of a truck that we are now going to turn into a robot, because that's how these do. And yes, you can see that there's pretty much the entire robot's just right here. So anyway, to start, I'm going to pop these wheel sections out, and they tab in right up here, and these just hinge up. And they are spring-loaded to a degree. You can kind of see how they want to spring down. And when you get up to a certain point, they spring up. So get those out of the way. Peel back the back of the truck. And I'm sure you can figure out what these are going to be. Flip these bits down. And that will give him his feet. Now, I'm going to split this back section here. This will come around like this. And after doing that, we want to fold these sections over. And this has been pointed out in several videos, but I also think this is kind of neat how when you fold this down, there's this tab here that will sit right across this bit of the bit that folded out. So that actually locks them in place and keeps them from being able to fold back in, which is pretty clever. Now, I'm going to pull this whole section forward, which looks a little ugly and weird, but that's how we got to do it. And now I want to rotate the truck cab down and around like this, and that is why we pulled this back, and that'll just sit against the back of the robot there. Split the legs and move on to the arms. So I'm going to rotate these around, and that kind of changes the positioning of the shoulders, gets them a little bit more in line with the upper body. And then these ratchet out and ratchet out. A lot of chunky ratchets on this guy, and then rotate them. And there we've got Storm, I think, in his robot mode, and it's not a bad robot mode. In videos and pictures, I was kind of like, I don't know, but like in hand, it's actually not too shabby. The proportions are very weird on this guy, though. Like, he's got kind of like a very stout frame, but then he's got these enormous, like, it's not even that he's got enormous shoulder pads, it's that he's got enormous shoulders that come out really far, and his arms hang down way too far from the center of his body. I mean, it's all in service of the bigger mode, but it's a little bit weird, but I can deal. I can learn to love again. The chrome can be a bit distracting in this mode because it's just like in kind of weird places, like up in his, on the insides of his shoulders and like down in like the lower parts of his thighs just above the knee. I don't really understand why they placed the chrome where they did. Also his mouth plate for some reason, which we'll look at it in more detail in a second. It's a little weird, but you know, it's fine. And the color breakup here is pretty nice. I'll talk about the arms in terms of the deco in a minute, but going from like the center of the body, it's a nice breakup of like red, chrome, blue, more red, silver, and chrome and yellow and silver and red and even some gray. And it does work pretty nicely. Also, I kind of dig how the center of the body, while it is very robotic, also kind of looks like a car engine. I mean, I'm not a car guy, but it just gives me that vibe. Now, these arms, this is an issue that I have in both robot modes, is that the arms are just a little too plain for my liking. Here, I guess it's not, like, it's not terrible in either regard, but like, it just, you've got these giant, empty voids of blue for shoulders, and it's just, they're so big, they could just do with a little something. And I think what annoys me the most about this is the fact that when we turn him around and look at the backs of his shoulders, you've got these nice molded silver details back here. You don't see it from the front. From the front, it's just a big blank blue slate, and I'll probably complain about this more in the other robot mode too, but it's just something up here would have been nice. Anyway, the molding is also nice. There's just lots of little details throughout here, and for some reason the tops of his feet around the ankle are chrome, which is weird, especially in this robot mode because it's not seen in the vehicle mode or the other robot mode, and it's kind of extraneous, but whatever. Yeah, more detail up in here, and of course the chrome thighs. I do like the little bits of yellow here and there that are kind of mixing things up a bit. It would be nice if some of that yellow was brought into the shin area or foot area down here to kind of bring all of that together, because the silver, the red, the chrome, the blue is all down here, but there's no yellow to kind of tie it in. And with the arms, you don't get any yellow up here when you're looking at it from the front, but there is some yellow on the side here, which, again, nice detail, but you don't really see it, so yeah. And then here is that chest, torso in more detail, and this is a lot of nice little molded details in there. Again, just that chrome, I don't understand why so much is chrome. I'm not huge into the head, but it looks okay. I was more bothered by the look of the head in videos and photos, but in hand, it's fine. It's shaped kind of strangely. And also, for some reason, mine is incredibly tight. Turning this head is concerning. I tried to turn it around. I tried to spin it around 180 earlier for like the sake of the transformations, that you didn't have a face peeking out at the bottom of the truck, and like I got to where the face was, you know, it was like a 90-degree turn, and I was just like, I can't get leverage to turn it all the way around, and I don't appreciate that. I tried loosening some screws. That didn't seem to do anything. I also tried, there's a screw in the back of the head. I tried to take that out completely to see if I could just take the head off, but that didn't seem to work. And I was hoping to get some shock oil in there to maybe loosen things up a bit, but no luck so far. We'll see how that goes. Anyway, it is an interesting design with like this weird kind of like blue cap almost, which does, again, because I can't really turn the head easily, it does kind of go back a little bit further, but it kind of is looking like he's wearing a hat with like a fin on top, with like these weird yellow tubing things along the sides. And again, that chrome mouth plate, I think more than anything, it's the chrome mouth plate that doesn't quite sit right with me. Also, he's got the dead light piping eyes, so that's great. But, you know, it's fine. It's not a fantastic head, but it works, and I think as far as the colors go with everything else going on here, it's okay. They probably also wanted to make it a little bit brighter, and particularly down here, because he's got this big plank of black plastic behind his head. Overall, Storm is a decent standalone robot. I definitely would not have wanted to get him if this was all it was, because the alt mode and this robot mode, I'm not exactly like, oh, that's the most amazing thing ever, so I probably wouldn't have spent that kind of money on it, but, you know, more will happen here. But we will come back to him. We've got other stuff to look at for now. Like, for example, the fire car, I think this is, yeah, fire rescue. I do not know the name of this particular Carbot. I know the names of a few of them, but just not this one. It's a car, a fire car. It's got the, I think, appropriate deco with like the red and the white. It does like red, white car with this flashing emergency lights on top. Does make me think some kind of fire rescue thing. Whoa, that is washed out. Okay. The detailing's nice. They did the thing that I like that a lot of Carbots and Tobots do, where you've got separate translucent plastic for the taillights and for the headlights, rather than just paint. And a logo tampo on the front there, chrome for the grille, a little silver under there as well. Yeah, it's a car. Not much else to say about it, and it's probably going to be a running theme for all of these. So to get this thing ready for the combine mode, I'm going to come under here and flip in the tires on this side. Those are the only ones that flip in. I'm going to pop up the hoods, or not hood, the entire front windshield here. Pull back this section here, and then accordion out these bits, like so. And lastly, I'm going to pull the front hood section of the car forward. And that will be that for this. Next we have Dandy. I actually know the name of this one. And it's an ambulance, and I've been kind of interested in the standalone figure of this, but it's just, you know, haven't really had it in me to pay the current prices for it. But again, it's a car, well, a van, and it's got some requisite deco all over the place. I don't quite get the significance of the squares here. It almost reads as like a kill count on a on a fighter plane, which is kind of weird. I'm sure that's not what it is, but that's just kind of what I get from it. Colors are nice, deco is nice, and yeah, I'm sorry, there's just not a whole lot I can say about the individual vehicle modes because I'm not super into them. So, I'm going to start transforming this. I'm going to pop off this little roof rack here. Come back to that in a second. Much like the red fire car thing, we're going to fold in the tires, and they fold in on this side rather than this side now. Next, we're going to pop this up and pull that away, pop this section back, and then accordion these out, like so. And these do hold in fairly securely. There's a little tab here that tabs in on the inside there, so when you're going back into the vehicle mode and push that in solidly enough, it'll hold really nicely. And now this one, this bit does move, but it's slid out from the beginning. That's just kind of where it is in the vehicle mode because of the fact that it's a much longer vehicle. So that is Dandy done. And Dandy's roof rack, for that, just going to split it apart and move these up on these double hinges here. And then these bits will fold out and they will kind of soft lock into position there. And this gets a kind of wing pack jetpack with a decent amount of detailing, actually, at least in this bit here. I like that. Granted, you're not really seeing this bit that much because it's going to be on the back, but still, I like it. I also like the kind of red painted wingtips here. It's an interesting kind of odd design with like these bits hanging down. It doesn't go all the way out to the tip, but I dig it. Next, we've got yet another Carbot I don't know the name of. It's a police car, and it's got the appropriate police car look. It almost gives me kind of like a Brave vibe in the way that the deco is done, where you've got this stripe of white going down the middle with like blue around the outsides. I'm probably way off, but just the way that that color is done just makes me think of that. But yeah, it's a police car. It looks good for what it is. It's, you know, not much else I could say about it than that. So to transform this, I'm going to pop more or less like, let's say 4/5 of the car up. That will hinge up like this. And there are little peg holes here, little pegs here. So that will sit in there. I'm going to take the hand, rotate that. And I've seen some videos where the hand is rotated around this way so that the knuckles are pointed down, and I've never quite been able to get this to sit right doing it that way, so that's why I have it rotated this way, because this seems to be the way that the car sits the most flush. But anyway, rotate that around to make a little gauntlet, and then there's a button right here, a little spring-loaded button. Push that in, and you can pull this out, and this will be what kind of clips on in the main combine mode, so there is that. And then we come to Sky SWAT, and again, it's, you know, it's Sky SWAT. That's pretty much all I can say. Deco's pretty much the same as the larger toy, it's just a much smaller toy, and instead of transforming into a robot, it transforms just like the other cop car, and pops open, and then you've got peg holes here, pegs down here, so push those in, and then rotate that fist around, another spring-loaded button, let's pull this out, and there you go. That is one more gauntlet. Now bringing Storm back in, let us do this thing. So, I'm gonna bring the arms out a bit just to get them out of the way, and rotate the shoulders all the way around like that. Next, going to rotate this entire cab section up, and then up again, so now the truck cab is pointed forward along with the robot chest, and collapse that back down. And now let's start doing other things. So, I want to collapse the feet in, and these will plug into their respective vehicle shoes. So the way you can tell the way that these are supposed to align is just when you've got the wheels folded in, you set them down, they'll kind of lean to the appropriate side. So Dandy here goes on the right, Pentastorm's right. So I'll put that in, and there are some pegs and clips back here. So just slide that in, clip that together, there we go. And then there is a little hole here and this little bit here, so that when you push this front section in, that will go into the hole and lock all of this together. And that locks that in place. There you can see there's the hole and the little thing that locks it in place. And the reason that I'm doing the clips in the back first is because just holding it up like this, it's kind of easier to come at it from this angle than the usual way of sliding these bits in first to lock that in place and then solidifying it with the clips. So now he has big car shoes. Now we get to apply the gauntlets. So the way that I've found that's easiest for me to do this is on the inside. You want to make sure you got the right, you can tell with the hands, but you want to have the proper sides for things. For me, the easiest way to line things up is to actually use the inside of this bit, because you can see there's this kind of arch shape here that will line up with the arch of the inner forearm there. So if you line this up, that'll be in position, and then all you have to do is close the gauntlet around it and it'll lock in place, and that will kind of get that set up so you don't have to struggle with it too much. Because I have not had much luck in trying to put it on this way and then clipping this over. So yeah, I just line it up there and then bring the gauntlet up over. There we go. Okay, rolling up the sleeves for this. So now, there was this section here that hinged forward on a ratchet. Instead of moving that, we want to move just the top part here. And this will swing around and reveal the combine mode head. And then back here, there are these tabs back here and little slots underneath here that will go together and hold this together on the back. And while we're back here, we're going to take Dandy's thing, and there are these clips here that will go into this hole right here. And that will give him his big, well, not so big, but his wing pack. And there we have, in his entirety, Hello Carbot Pentastorm. And this guy is hands down the largest Korean transforming robot toy combiner that I have. He's very big. You can see how far back I have to pull this. It's completely breaking the backdrop. Spoilers for what the size comparisons are going to be, I guess. But yeah, he's quite big. Also, I have to shoot at a slight up angle in order to get his torso in here, because I can't really extend the tripod any further currently. This thing is massive. And yeah, it's very cool. I really, really like Pentastorm. The silhouette is interesting. He's got weirdly gorilla-ish arms in that the arms go down really, really far on the legs there. I kind of wish that the legs themselves extended a bit rather than him just getting shoes. And also, his elbows are way up here at the biceps. That's a little awkward when it comes to things like posing and whatnot. Still looks cool. I'm not super into the car shoes. That is a little goofy to me, though I will say at least I feel like it's a better choice having the primarily white and red and white vehicles as the shoes rather than the mismatched pair we've got going on up here. Like I said, I'm not super into the car shoes look, but like as a total package, Pentastorm is very cool. I also particularly like how, as simple and awkward as it is that he's basically just got two cars that he's wearing as gloves, I appreciate the fact that the way that the cars transform, they make this kind of like sweeping back elbow guard thing. Here, the blankness in the shoulders isn't as noticeable or obnoxious to me, but it is still there, and I still feel like he could do with just a little something going on up here. Again, it's just baffling to me that he's got this nice molded silver detail on the backs of the shoulders, but you don't get any of that in the front. But in this mode, in particular, because there's a lot going on with the gauntlets, with like the different shades and all the chrome and stuff like that, like this, there's enough going on here that it doesn't make me notice the blankness up here as much. Also, he's got these big red fins over his head there too, and a little bit of nice yellow right around the collar, which I appreciate. I also really like how the front of the truck becomes, or most of the front of the truck becomes the chest, including that nice chrome grille right under the head, and how what was the original robot mode chest and torso becomes more of like his midsection and abs. I do think it works how down here you now have these details that were the top of the truck or the bottoms of the robot mode feet. These chrome bits now become like his shins. That works, but there was some nicer color deviation in the regular robot mode feet. Maybe it would have been too visually busy to have all of those colors in conjunction with the car shoes. I don't know. It's also impressive to me just how relatively clean this combined mode is. Because, like, yeah, he's got kibble technically. He's wearing it as gloves and shoes, but there's really nothing hanging off of his back aside from the jetpack. And going handheld to look at the head because this guy is just too tall for my setup. The head is also kind of interesting. I like this head more than the regular Storm head, and also it's not as alarmingly tight. And it's interesting how he's got like the translucent orange for this kind of head crown crest thing. Whereas the regular robot head, it was more just light piping and gave him dead eyes. Here, his eyes are much, much nicer. I like that they did like a bright kind of orange, which might be hard to tell with the color balancing right now, but believe me, his eyes are orange, they're not this color yellow. And I also like the fact that like most of the face in there is silver with this kind of red. It's almost like a boxing practice headgear kind of thing going on around here, which is a little bit strange. And also I think it's interesting, the darker gray on the inside there, that almost makes it look like there's a face behind the silver. I don't know if that's true, but it's an interesting look. Okay, so as tricky as all that has been, now things are going to get even trickier because I need to try and do size comparisons. Here he is with a standard deluxe all the way down here. Yeah, hang on a sec. Okay, pulled it back a bit more so you can get a more kind of full picture of just how enormous Pentastorm ends up becoming. He's a large combiner. Here he is with Carbot Adventure Z. Let me move this in a little bit more now that things are tall enough that I can actually show them off properly. So yeah, here he is with a kind of standard-ish size older Tobot, and for as big as Adventure Z is, Pentastorm is way bigger. Here he is with fellow Carbot Sky SWAT, and yeah, he's quite a bit bigger there too. And because I feel like I can't really talk about a combiner like this without bringing out at least one other combiner for comparison, here's Pentastorm with Tobot v Big Troll, and he's bigger and wider than Big Troll. It's I mean, if you want to go to the top of the shoulders, Big Troll is still a little bit shorter because of those wings. But yeah, going to the top of the head, they're definitely shorter. And that's saying something, because Big Troll is, well, big. And lastly, you can't even see it because of how big this guy is, but there we go. Alright, pulling this back just a little bit more so we can get kind of a proper shot in here. Here he is with the duck tank. Okay, that's enough awkward camera work. I think I'm done with the size comparisons, done talking about Pentastorm. He is cool. He is very cool. The colors, I think, work really well. I like that once everything's combined, you get a lot more kind of red, black, and chrome with the gauntlets, and even down in the feet, you get more red at least. So there's kind of like a color tying everything together. He looks less disjointed color-wise than I would expect from a combiner like this. It's just, again, there's certain things that are a little bit disappointing, like the placement of the elbows and the fact that he gets these enormous car shoes, but his legs are still kind of weedy looking. Still impressive, still very cool. Still very glad I got him after so long, but there are some things. But it's also an older toy. Big Troll, for example, is from, what, 2019? Maybe 2018? Pentastorm is like, I want to say 2014, 2015, sometime around there, so there's quite a time difference. Stuff changes. Yeah, now all I have to do is track down Hello Carbot, Patron S, and Dyer. If any of you have any lines on where I might be able to successfully find Patron S and or Dyer for not completely absurd prices, feel free to let me know, because that's like my new current grail, because it's so shockingly hard to find. But anyway, that is enough carrying on about Pentastorm and Hello Carbots and my unfulfilled dreams. Let me know what you all think of this guy. Whatever your thoughts, feel free to chime in down below. I always enjoy hearing from you all, and remember, art is more than meets the eye.